Oh, not yet. Hang on. Where am I? Test 1, 2. All right, that's there. Tom,
I got crazy echo. Can you hear me?
still can't hear you through the Zoom. I'm going to hang up the phone with you, Tom, for now, just so that I can make sure that I'm getting something here. Do you mind?
I hear everything you're saying twice.
Because it's coming through the phone. So let me hang up my. All right, Taylor, you still there?
Taylor, there? I'm still there.
All right, Tom, talk to me.
Check one, check one. Check one, check one.
Awesome. Got you.
Good. That's awesome.
There you go. All right. And so you're coming in through that. I'm not going to work. Oh, no. You know what? I don't want you coming in through there. I want you coming through. Talk again.
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Check, check, check. Is TT going to get us live on Facebook, on my Facebook? Is Taylor taking us live on my Facebook?
No, maybe if I do this. Talk again to me, Tom. Tom?
Yes, I will.
Sir?
Okay, I hear you. What happened to your video, though?
I was texting Taylor to see if he was in charge of taking us live on Facebook.
Oh,
You should
okay.
have me back. You got me back now?
Yep, I see you.
Hey, Taylor? Joe? Anyone?
Yeah, you got me. You're just talking to me through the feed right now.
804-869-4444 is my other number. I'm holding that phone. So if you need to get me, that's the number to text me at. As good as I'm gonna be. Yeah.
I don't have that number saved, but you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you clear as a bell. 804-869-4444. A front light would be good. That helps. Take off the lampshade if you want. Ooh. Did you just dial me on the other phone? Joe, did you dial me on the other phone?
Well, I was trying to get you hooked in with Taylor. Taylor, how are we looking?
You're looking good. I just need the stream from the house going.
The stream. Where did Tom go again?
Bear with me.
He's probably texting me or calling me or something.
Bear with me.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay.
You're looking good. Video's looking good.
Okay.
A little bit lagged, but you just need to turn on the stream from Virginia.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm.
If we start early, I can just do why I'm not there thing.
right. Why is it not showing me? Because I've got video is rolling from the General Assembly.
Okay. All right. Video's rolling.
I mean, am I live? I'm looking at my own Facebook page. Probably a bad idea.
Yes, probably.
Is the video on the stream working, Dan, from General Assembly?
It's on my desktop, and I'm trying to get it to.
Not on OBS. Okay, so what you need to do, is it on Chrome? Do you have it open on Chrome?
No, it's Edge.
Same thing.
Yeah, I'm going to get a new window capture. It just didn't refresh.
Okay.
There we go. There's the live stream.
Okay, give me a second to see it. As I see it, I'll hit live on Facebook.
Oh, you know what I can't do with this is zoom it in, but okay. There we go. All right, but it is rolling.
Let me see.
Yeah, tell me when I'm up.
All right. I can see it. All right. I'm going to hit live. You guys are going to be live.
All right, cool.
So we're just going to do a cold intro, Joe, and figure out who's going first?
All right, we are live as our technical director tells us. Welcome to Political Science Theater 3000. This is the most you're going to hear from me because I know just enough to be dangerous. Our expert for the affair is a member of the Virginia General Assembly. His name is Delegate Tom Garret, representing the 56th District, which is 25 cows and a bunch of people in Goochland County. I'm sorry, what's your hometown? It's the Cuckoo.
No, man. I grew up in the Inez, Bumpus, Cuckoo, Holly Grove, Quad Cities Metroplex, but I represent all are part of 6 amazing localities in Virginia, and we have more than just cows. We got about 85,000 hardworking Virginians and their families, and this budget is farcical. And you're probably wondering, why aren't you there, Tom? Well, there are 64 of them and 36 of us. And I can assure you I can come up with 1,000 different reasons to vote no on this as the House gavel's in. But my vote doesn't matter. Neither did any of the thoughts of any of the members of the Appropriations Committee. 2 people negotiated this budget along with the governor. And our appropriators, that is Republican members of the Appropriations Committee, learned of this budget Friday night when everyone else in Virginia did. So if any Republicans vote for this, I'm curious to see who. And I'm going to be quiet for the pledge and the prayer.
Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, recognizing that every good and perfect gift comes from you. You're the author of life, the source of wisdom, and the giver of the many blessings that we too often take for granted. Our families, our freedoms, our commonwealth, and the opportunity to serve the people who have entrusted us with this responsibility. As we gather once again in this chamber, let us pause to remember those among us who have suffered loss since we last convened. We lift up our colleagues and their families who have walked through seasons of grief and heartache. Grant them comfort and sorrow, strength for each day, and the peace that only you can provide. Lord, give us wisdom beyond our own understanding and help us to listen with humility, debate with civility, and lead with courage. Remind us that while we may differ in our views, we should be united in our duty to serve the people of Virginia faithfully and honorably. May our words be measured, our motives be pure, our decisions reflect justice, mercy, and a sincere desire to leave this Commonwealth better than we found it. Bless this House, bless the Commonwealth of Virginia, and bless these United States of America. In Christ's holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I imagine, Tom, there's going to be some parliamentary stuff going on here.
We'll answer the roll call by indicating
Yeah,
their
and
presence on
you
the
get the
electronic
pledge there. That's your first bipartisan moment of the day. That was a Republican member of the body giving the Pledge of Allegiance. That would be the first that's happened this year, to my knowledge. And it is 93 present, 6 not. I know where one of those guys is. It would be 7, I guess, not present. So this is what happens. This budget was due literally 100 days ago today. The Commonwealth of Virginia had to move forward. I had plans that I'd made to be with my kids, my family, well over a year ago. And again, when you're down 64-36,
of the morning hour, speaker request.
What do you do? I mean, this budget's going to pass. There'll be no debate over items in the budget. That is not normal. Normally, you're able to pull line items out and debate those items. But my understanding, based on what the speaker and leadership released, was that we're going to vote on a conference report. So this will be an up or down vote.
2047 of today's calendar.
HR 2047 is likely a commending resolution, commending a constituent for something that they did.
Okay. So this is just like cleanup business, clearing your desk of other stuff.
No, you're going to have people who've done distinguished things in a district, and we can commend them by virtue of a vote of the General Assembly. These are generally unanimous, and you'll hear about the colonel here in a second.
Who embodies service above self, Colonel Jim O'Kelly. Today in the gallery, we have Colonel O'Kelly, his family, and fellow veterans.
Oh, wow.
And I ask that they all please stand.
She's going to read.
Colonel Jim
O'Kelly
is great.
honorably served our country for 36 years as a member of the United States Marine Corps Reserve, including tours of duty in Vietnam and Korea, serving in many leadership roles, ranging from second lieutenant platoon commander to lieutenant executive officer and captain throughout his time there. For his service and valor, Colonel O'Kelly has received numerous decorations, including the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star Medal with V device, the Purple Heart, the Air Medal, and the Combat Action Ribbon. But Colonel O'Kelly's commitment did not end when he took off the uniform of a Marine. He continued his public service with the U.S. Geological Survey, capping 40 years of federal service. After retirement, he went on to serve the Albemarle community for more than 11 years as a part-time deputy sheriff, as well as a reserve deputy sheriff in Greene County. Perhaps most personally, though, Colonel O'Kelly and his wife have spent the last 15 years ensuring that the names of those who did not come home are never forgotten. They have worked tirelessly to research and memorialize local heroes with the Dogwood Vietnam Memorial Foundation in Charlottesville. I'd like to also say that he has inspired me many times with his speeches and his selfless service to others. Throughout his entire life, he has been a hero, a patriot that has selflessly served not just our community, but the nation as a whole. So on behalf of Delegate Coulson and I ask that we approve H.R. 2074.
The delegate from Albemarle, Douglas Lawford, moves that the House adopt House Resolution 2074 commending Colonel James T. O'Kelly, United States Marine Corps Reserve, retired. All those in favor of adopting the resolution shall say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The resolution is agreed to. Congratulations, sir, and thank you. Thank you for your service.
So what you'll see is essentially, I've never seen anyone vote no on the commending a memorial resolution.
Yeah, but Colonel
I've seen
O'Kelly
people leave the floor, but Colonel O'Kelly is somebody I think we can all get behind.
Amen. If you've never had a story told to you by Jim O'Kelly, you've never had a story told to you.
And so what you get is housekeeping. There'll be people who want to get these things done in a certain amount of time, and because there's a special session, this gives them the opportunity to do that.
Okay. And do we know how many of these there are? Or?
I rise for two motions.
No. And we never know.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I move that the House take up out of order H.R. 2100, located on page 2 of today's calendar.
Clerk, report a resolution.
For more resolutions laid on the Speaker's table, House Resolution 2100 on page 2, celebrating the life of Taran Mehta.
Delegate from Dinwiddie, Delegate Pope Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move adoption of the resolution and request to speak to the motion.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, moments in our lives remind us that behind every public servant, every title, and every accomplishment is a family whose love, sacrifice, and support often go unseen. Today is one of those moments. For months, we have had the privilege of serving alongside our colleague, Delegate Mehta. We have witnessed her strength, her intellect, and her unwavering commitment to the people she serves. What we may not have always seen was the person standing beside her, encouraging her, supporting her, and taking pride in her life of service. Taran Mehta was that person. He was a devoted husband, a loving father, and a man who centered his life around the people he loved most. While he enjoyed a distinguished legal career and earned the respect of colleagues across the country, those who knew him best will remember something even more meaningful: his kindness, his generosity of spirit, and the deep love he had for his family. Today, we honor a life well lived and a man whose legacy will continue through the lives he touched and the family he cherished. And our hearts are especially with Delegate Mehta and her daughter as they navigate this profound loss. Mr. Speaker, we cannot take away their grief, but we can and we will stand beside them through it. Because the 30th Psalm tells us, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Speaker, I move adoption of the resolution, and I further move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn in the honor and memory of Taran Mehta.
The delegate from Dinwiddie, Delegate Pope Adams, moves that the House adopt House Resolution 2100, celebrating the life of Taran Mehta, and that when the House adjourn today, it do so in the honor and memory of Taran Mehta. All those in favor of the motion shall please rise. The motion is agreed to.
So we're going to go through this for a bit during the course of this. Now, given the math, Tom, you said there were 7 absent, you being one of them. What does that do to the calculus on the budget bill? Does that make it possible that Republicans could be close on this?
No, I don't know the party breakdown of absences, but ultimately it's 64 votes, which will vote as they're told, right? I mean, we went 2 weeks last year without a single dissenting Democrat vote. That is, that they voted for as a block for 2 straight weeks on everything. So they're going to do what they're told to do, which is a little bit disappointing as a citizen, frankly. But you presume that all 7 absences are Democrats, you're still at a 57-36 lead. Obviously, that's not the case. And then historically, you've seen members of the Appropriations Committee vote yes on budgets, truthfully, so that they don't lose their spot in the Appropriations Committee.
What?
I don't know what will happen this year. I think that ultimately we've never seen a process like this where one party had an almost supermajority in one chamber, control of the other chamber of the governor's mansion, and we went 100 days late because they couldn't agree with themselves.
Right.
You saw a head fake from Senator Lucas acting like she cared about tax incentives, tax breaks for data centers. I was speaking against that 3 years ago, and I was alone in the wilderness.
Well, go into that a little bit. While they're going through this housekeeping, don't skate past that, because I think that's really important here, because a lot of people in a lot of places saw that whole bit about going after data centers. And there are people, you said you were a voice saying we shouldn't give tax breaks on computer purchases for data centers. You said it, what, 3 years ago?
It was 3 years ago. I gave a floor speech, and what we did was we looked at the net worth of Amazon Web Services, AWS, Jeff Bezos. And if you rolled the Amazon into one loop, you're a net worth of over $1 trillion, almost 1.7 trillion at the time. And yet we were giving every single dime earned by well over 1,000 average tax-paying families in Buckingham County to Jeff Bezos, right? Essentially, ostensibly to incentivize, I guess, them locating here. Now we're seeing this with the Valley Link transmission line. You've got this massive electricity demand, primarily in Loudoun County and emanating outward Fairfax, Prince William, in the form of data centers. And we're incentivizing this. Loudoun's pulled down literally billions of dollars in revenue and new schools and teachers and deputies and police officers. And rural Virginia has gotten not even table scraps. Just this year, we're adding $153 million to the $1 billion annually that we use to subsidize the Washington Metro Area Transit Authority. And they've created, in the form of the Virginia Clean Energy or Clean Economy Act, the almost impossibility of generating electricity in Nova. So we're getting 100 and some odd miles of 750 kV power line through rural Virginia because they won't do it there. And we won't fast track small modular reactors so that we can co-locate the power with the demand. Understanding that 15 years ago, Virginia was a net exporter of electrical generation capacity, and now we're duking it out with California, who's over 4 times as large as we are, for the largest importer of electricity. So we're balancing essentially Northern Virginia's economic boon on the backs of hardworking rural Virginians while claiming to care about working people. You know, you got a 7% tax increase in the form of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative on your power bill that will take place next month, where they've created an equity market from scratch out of thin air, created a commodity, capitalized that market by money added to your power bill, and then said, we're doing it to save the planet. Meanwhile, Bill Gates and Tom Steyer can invest in this equity market, this capitalized market that we pay for, blue collar, hardworking Virginians pay for with our power bills, but we can't, right? We don't have the money that the institutional investor has to invest in this new age sort of commodity market created from scratch in the name of saving the planet. Meanwhile, you have people like Bernie Sanders who said, if we don't change what we're doing, this is 2020, almost a verbatim quote, then by 2026, there'll be no planet left to save. And I keep saying this like REM, Joe. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. This is a lie that's been foisted upon us by the 1%, and then it's been militarized and used, weaponized by people claiming to fight against the 1%. But this budget doubles down on that. That is that the rich get richer and hardworking Virginians support them in whether from our power bill to a new 1%-ish tax on payroll and withholding on small businesses and individuals for paid family medical leave. Ask AI or Google, states with paid family medical leave at the state level, are they net losers or gainers of population? Ask AI or Google, states with paid family medical leave, is the cost of living higher or lower than the national average? Virginia becomes the first state in the South, which they're very proud of, to join this group that's headed by Massachusetts, New York, California, Colorado. All these states have two things in common: horribly high cost of living, and people are leaving rather than coming. And that's all rolled into this budget. Likewise, 200 plus pages of our budget devoted to creating a retail marijuana marketplace, which is Louise Lucas's business. I've abstained from votes where my parents might have benefited from something out of an abundance of caution on ethics. Meanwhile, she runs cannabis dispensaries and used a lie, I would argue, about caring about tax breaks for data centers as leverage to get the cannabis marketplaces that will help put more money in her pocket into the budget. There was no bill that we got to vote on that did this. There is instead literally 1,967 mentions of marijuana or cannabis and over 200 pages of our budget to create these marijuana marketplaces, which, oh, by the way, are focused on equity, so that if you're a person of color or have certain other qualifying criteria, you can get a license. But if you're not, probably not. It's mind numbing. I think there's an equal protection argument there as an attorney, but you got to get a plaintiff and then the resources
All
to
those
challenge
in
it in
favor
court.
shall please rise.
And again, I mean, the budget as a vehicle for this, with the inability to pull line items out and vote no on them, it's never done. It's never done. It hasn't been done. It's about to be done. If Republicans vote for this, then they're giving top cover to the people who are going to trumpet a bipartisan budget. And I will wager that if they do, it's going to be members of the Appropriations Committee who I suppose are afraid of being taken off the Appropriations Committee. And maybe there's $1 million here and $1 million there for their district. But what do they do for Virginia? What do they do for the idea of fiscal responsibility and making sure that hardworking people get to keep more of what they earn? I don't know. But that's the thing I'm most interested in seeing play out here.
Well, and this is the elections have consequences argument, but there's also a certain point where you've got the amount of money that was poured into a half a dozen House races that wound up flipping by 1% or thereabouts is stunning. And it was to get to this overwhelming majority of House members. I think Tony Wilt in Harrisonburg was about the only House seat that they targeted that didn't flip. And so does that also indicate that there is a profit motive for somebody outside of Virginia, Tom?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was listening to the floor proceedings as well as what you were talking about. Look, I don't know. And I'm not going to cast aspersions on anybody's character, certainly not by name until I know. With that said, you've got massive holes in how we fund issue advocacy. For example, on this referendum on the redistricting that narrowly passed before the court said you can't do the stuff that Tom Garret was telling you couldn't do 6 months ago.
Just
you get 501c4 issue. Yeah, right. I mean, like they could have saved literally tens of millions of dollars if they just listened to me when I said, yeah, you can't do that. But it wasn't their money, right? And so 501c4 money, there's a big loophole on foreign donors. And so you get issue advocacy money that's truly dark money that comes from overseas. We don't think it, we know it. That's influencing American elections. Ohio, not long ago, said we're not taking 501c4 issue advocacy money because it might be foreign money. And you know what happened? They stopped seeing tens and tens of millions of dollars spent on issue advocacy in Ohio, and the political behavior of the state of Ohio changed.
Yeah, sure.
Shocking,
funny.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny how that works. And so, it's incredible how well they study us, our behavior, that which moves us and causes us to act one way or another, and then tailor messaging to that. You have people who are suffering from this climate change agenda, who are fighting for the climate change agenda because they've been told that it's existential and we're all going to die.
Right. And
the reality is that certainly good stewardship and responsible climate policy, environmental policy is in everyone's interest.
Sure.
But there's a hyperbolic exaggeration that tends to almost always benefit China, literally, but also a neo-Marxist sort of big government approach where we got Matthew from the Bible, generosity, that is, when I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was thirsty, did you give me drink? Versus Corinthians that says giving should be willing and voluntary and done from a joyful heart, right? And so they allay, I would argue, their own sort of guilt. They assuage their conscience by being generous with other people's money. At that point, I would say you have to ask yourself, are you helping people or hurting people, right? Because I trust people, whether they agree with me politically or not, to make decisions in the best interest of themselves, their families, more than I do bureaucrats in government. And that's another thing we see in this budget, which again, we got Friday night, the same day that we were told that we needed to be in Richmond today, which is another reason I'm not there.
Thank you,
and that
Mr.
is,
Speaker.
we're growing the
dedicated
governor's
his
full-time
life to-
staff by 20%. We're growing the attorney general's federal litigation unit so they can sue the federal government by 10 attorneys, by millions of dollars. We're the governor, we're in session 2 months of the year. I don't know what her legislative staff does the other 10 months of the year. They didn't do much at all this year, so I sort of understand why she wants more people. We couldn't find them, and that might have contributed to the Democrats' complete and utter disrespect for all of her agenda items.
That was Louise Lucas's argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Louise Lucas's argument. She said, gosh, at least Glenn Youngkin used to call me. And maybe she's ruining, not voting for Winsome Sears in the governor's race.
Yeah, I hate piling on Governor Spanberger. I try to attack ideas and not people.
Right. No, I'm
But
not
the
saying
governor's legislative staff was straight up full on AWOL during the entire legislative session. And it wasn't just Republicans saying it. It was Democrats going, does the governor have a position on this bill or that bill or the other bill? Does the governor want input on this bill or that bill or the other bill? And they were nowhere to be found. And then when she vetoed a lot of bills, considering that they have control of both chambers and a near supermajority in one, the Democrats were gobsmacked with where were you when we were putting this all together? So we're going to rectify that with literally millions of taxpayer dollars and a 20% increase in the full-time staff of a part-time governor.
Yeah. Well, and this is, to the bigger issue is the learning curve of a governor. We always get a new one. We don't get an incumbent governor. So there's always a feeling like there's a learning curve that first, what do they call it in Washington? The first 100 days is spent sort of getting to know, the landscape and everything. Do you recall any governors doing it better than just sort of walking and going, anyone know where the washroom is?
Well, I think you see that certainly, and I'm trying to be not partisan in an inherently partisan circumstance, where you have secession from a governor of one party to a governor of the same party. But Youngkin came in running. Bob McDonnell came in with a legislative agenda that looked like he'd been governor for 2 or 3 years, I guess because he'd had a long time to think about it.
Right,
I think Governor
Spanberger,
well, that plus a member of the House of Delegates for a long time. I think Governor Spanberger came in with the idea that executive branch authority in Richmond would mirror that we have in D.C., and that's simply not the case, and which is a good thing, because what we have federally, and I can speak to that too, is a circumstance where the legislative branch knows what votes might get them in trouble with their constituencies, and so they've frittered away their legislative responsibility by delegating these tasks to executive branch bureaucrats. We're seeing that more and more in Virginia with the large growth in both the OAG, Office of the Attorney General, and the governor's staff in this budget, which is going to pass. Spoiler alert. Again, that's not a path we want to go in, because what you want is when you pick up your phone to speak to your local representative, to get somebody who understands your issues, not somebody in Richmond who couldn't find Botetourt County or Appomattox, with the roadmap. So,
the budget's going to go through. It's $212 billion. And you talked about this earlier this morning, and I think you talked about it earlier in this feed. This is including permissions for local governments to enact their own 1% sales tax for school capital expenditures. It's been my contention for some time that this budget function, the school capital budget, is one of the least transparent piles of money in Virginia. Very few people pay attention to school board votes. Very few people go and discuss, and usually these expenditures come up late in a school board meeting on a Wednesday night. Yes, we want $50,000 to repolish the slides at so-and-so middle school, and this company, without anyone saying, whose company is that? I mean, I don't like the word slush fund.
We're going to ask whose company it is, because when they bid the contract, if it's a SWAM company, they're going to be given an advantage of 4%, right? That is, they can overbid a company not owned by a woman or minority by 4% and have their bid be considered the low bid. But other than that, nobody's asking. Look, you got a school board who can argue every time, we have to spend this money, it's for the children. And then a board of supervisors who's tasked with getting a budget, right? And there are some wonderful, amazing people serving in a tough and thankless job on school boards. But it's nice to have to balance a budget when you're the one that's doing the demands for spending. Now, I hate this 1% sales tax to build schools, because if you represent rural areas, we don't have a retail industry with Walmart and Target around every corner. So what happens is Goochland County, Cumberland County, Appomattox, Buckingham, Louisiana, these folks are driving to Albemarle, to Lynchburg, to the city of Richmond to do their primary shopping. And so what we're doing is we're taking rural counties, which tend to be impoverished as relates to suburban and urban areas in Virginia, and we're building schools in Henrico and Albemarle and Charlottesville. Oh, dude, it's mind numbing, right? So I said on the floor last year, why don't I just tell all my constituents to shop at Amazon? If you're not buying local, you might as well shop at Amazon. At least some of the money then comes back to Buckingham or Fluvanna or Goochland. This is, again, if I live in Henrico, I love this. Because what percentage of money spent in a Walmart in Henrico County is people from Amelia or Powhatan or Goochland? So not only is it a 1% tax increase, which it is, now you've also got a 1% tax increase for your PFML. So there's 2% of all you earn that's getting taxed more. And then you've got a 7% energy bill increase in the form of Reggie, all in the guise of affordability from Governor Spanberger. Good news is they're still going to pay for ED drugs for people who are transitioning, but not for old people who are in love or people with altitude sickness or Raynaud's syndrome or chronic pulmonary hypertension. We won't pay for that for them, but this budget does make sure that if you're transitioning, we will still help you achieve and maintain an erection. Not making it up. It's in the budget right there next to 200 and some odd pages of retail cannabis market with preferential treatment for people of color, which I think, again, is an equal protection problem. Right next to increasing the governor's full-time staff by 20% and creating a unit at the Office of the Attorney General specifically responsible for suing President Trump. There's your tax dollars.
Y'all better hit your buttons faster than that. When he stands up, y'all need to hit your button because we moving. The delegate here from Roanoke, Delegate McNamara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking of
so
the conference report,
we won't be able to pull
thank you, Mr.
items
Speaker.
out of it.
So I was hoping I'd hear about the Democrat spending plan that we're about to vote on today in a few minutes, and the fact, Mr. Speaker, that there aren't tax increases as they are so defined. But, Mr. Speaker, when I look at the budget for fiscal year 2027, which is this coming year we're going into, it is $34.7 billion. $34.7 billion, a lot of money. Last year, on the Youngkin budget, fiscal year 2026, our spending plan was $31.4 billion. Again, a lot of money. So what has changed from last year running the Commonwealth to this year running the Commonwealth? $3.3 billion. $3.3 billion is a 10.5% increase, Mr. Speaker, year over year. Now, you and I both know that revenues are where revenues come from for the Commonwealth, and they come from our citizens and their taxes and fees and all the things that we like to say we're trying to cut to make things more affordable. Budget. Well, what does $3.3 billion mean to the Commonwealth of Virginia citizens? Mr. Speaker, it means $9 million a day, every single day of the year, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday. $9 million more we are spending to run the Commonwealth this coming year than we spent the year that we are currently in. Now, we can talk about the increase in the standard deduction, which I've carried those bills in the past, and it's very good. And to the highest earning taxpayer, it will equate to $63 a year. $63 a year, which will quickly be eclipsed by a 1% potential and likely sales tax add-on across the Commonwealth. It will be eclipsed by merely $120 worth of spending per week by this family on taxable goods. Now, when we do, I call it a Democrat spending plan because a budget, when you put together a budget, you align your revenues and you align your expenses with your revenues.
So this guy seems like he gets it pretty well, Tom. As we're doing Political Science Theater 3000 here, they've just begun debate on the budget, biennium budget. And Tom, so pick up where you left off about the priorities.
Well, if there's anybody in the Republican caucus who I want to listen to on this budget, it is Joe McNamara. He's a fiscal conservative, small business person.
Okay.
And he gets it. This is nuts, though, right? We're looking at a biennial that's $212 billion. Your discretionary budget up year over year is up 10%. The biennial's up 8% in the last 2 years. So let's listen to what Joe has to say, because he's as good a fiscal conservative numbers cruncher as we have down there.
Everyday working citizens.
I'm pretty much sure he's going to vote no.
There was no room for tax relief in the Democrat spending plan.
He's telling you why.
Just room to grow government by 10.5%. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Delegate from Scott County, Delegate Kilgore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speak to the bill.
Delegate has the floor.
You want to
Mr.
talk about
Speaker,
regressive taxation, it would be that grocery tax. And again, they increase spending by billions and billions and can't find $300 million to roll back now. The $3.3 billion year-over-year increase in discretionary spending, that's $340 per Virginian.
Wow.
Yeah, which probably doesn't
Can
hurt
you
if
use
you're
that?
a tech
I know I
executive
could.
in Loudoun.
I could use that.
Things of that nature, as well as the
in your household, right? Multiply that times people in your house.
All through the session, we did have a consistent
Cutting sheriff's deputies while growing the attorney general's office and the governor's office.
Yeah. Centralized government.
I applaud the folks for adding that back in to give some money back to our ratepayers, but we also need, and maybe the governor can do this, we need to also add the co-ops to
Regional
this,
Greenhouse Gas Initiative will lead to a
co-ops
7% increase next month on your power bill to capitalize a commodity market cap and trade where Tom Steyer and other green leaders will invest and make billions of dollars. Again, your money capitalized it and you don't get to invest in it.
Now, this was the thing that Glenn Youngkin pulled us out of, and they battled about it in court for almost the entirety of his 4-year term, whether or not he had the authority. Well, the other thing they did this year is they took that ambiguity out, and now the government, it's not a matter for the governor to say we're in or we're out. Going forward from this, if I understand it correctly, that's gone, and it's going to have to be a legislative priority. Am I right?
Right. And Virginia, if we're going to try to push down our greenhouse gas emissions, it's double pushing up our power bills because they're forcing us to produce $11 billion to get half a gigawatt of power at best from offshore wind. We could have gotten 4 or 5 gigawatts with natural gas for the same amount of money that would have been there forever, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So your power bill goes up because the power we get is more expensive and you're paying more for it. And we're importing it from other states. And they're telling us we have to do it to save the planet. But let's keep in mind that Virginia is 0.1% of the planet's population. So if we stopped producing carbon tomorrow, it would make exactly 0.1% of a difference in the global carbon output. We're not going to stop producing carbon tomorrow.
Looks like they're voting on the conference report.
Yeah, well, that's right. The conference report is the budget. Normally you can pull items out and debate items.
71, noes 22.
And they're not even doing that this year. That's the unprecedented thing here.
Adopted.
So I really want to get a screenshot of the board if we can to see how many Republicans.
It looked like 2. They said there were 69.
And they're going to trumpet a bipartisan budget because Republicans just gave them cover.
That completes today's
Listen
calendar.
to that rousing round of applause as they reach ever deeper into your pocket to fund their priorities and discriminate against individuals who don't meet the criteria that they insist they meet to receive the fruits of your labor. Mind-numbing.
And at least a couple of, from what I saw there, Republicans voted for it. If there were 71 yay votes.
We don't know how many Democrats were absent. So, yeah.
Right. So
now it's a bipartisan budget. And I don't want to speak ill of people by name, but you guys can do the research. Given that Republican members of the Appropriations Committee, who are responsible for making the budget, didn't even see it until the same time as the general public.
Right.
That they could get in 48 hours, essentially, to a yes vote that takes 10% more from you than just a year ago.
Well,
it is absolutely, it defies logic.
So
and so I had a member of the Appropriations Committee say, well, Virginia needs a budget. And I said, we don't need this budget. And he said, well, I'm on the
our dear friend
Appropriations Committee, I need to vote for it. And I said, there's 64 of them and 36 of us.
There's an old expression my dear friend Chris Horner says frequently.
Garret didn't go up and vote no. It wouldn't have changed a thing because they had this thing baked into the cake from the word go. They wouldn't even let us see what was in it until Friday night when everybody else got to see it. And then by voting on the conference report as opposed to voting on the budget, we couldn't pull line items out to debate those line items, right? It's never been done this way before, not once ever.
So this completely changes.
On side of them.
This completely changes how Virginia votes on its budget. So they didn't vote on the budget. They voted on a report on the budget. Am I understanding that correctly?
We adopted the report of the House Appropriations Committee. The House Appropriations Committee has, I think, 21 members, 7 Republicans, and maybe it's 22. But no one on the House Appropriations Committee had the actual language that you just voted on until Friday night, after Luke Torian and Louise Lucas and whomever negotiated for Governor Spanberger released it. And I didn't know that we were meeting for sure until a few days ago. And like I said, I've been planning this for months, just like everybody else in Virginia. I got a life to live in, a family to whom I hope I'm important, and I know they're important to me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they've reached that much deeper into our pockets for priorities that I don't think are consistent, A, with the role of government at the state level, and B, with what's best for posterity. And then normally what you'd see is a document that's 500, 600, 700 pages long, and people would pull out item 6 on page 32 and say, this looks like that, and then I want to vote on removing this line item, and then there'd be a vote, and it was predictable because it came down on party line status most of the time, although Republicans do tend to actually think freely occasionally, which gets us in trouble with each other, let alone leadership.
It makes for good radio.
None of that happened today. No. This is a first of its kind budget. We're going to spend $212 billion over the next 2 years, and it was debated. It wasn't debated at all.
Right, and that's what I find interesting, is there was no debate. They accepted 22 people, their report, and just said, fine, this is it. This is what they called when, before you were in the House of Representatives, they called it the deem and pass, because if I remember Obamacare, they attached it to a bill that had already been through committee and through all these other parts of the legislative process. So it came to the floor already passed. They just had to accept somebody's statement that we're adding this to the bill, so it was already passed.
Which famously got us Nancy Pelosi's, we have to pass the bill so that we can find out what's in it.
Exactly.
But we're on the hook for billions of dollars, right? And we're supposed to be accountable to the voters and the taxpayers. There was literally no debate on this. And you make it sound better than it actually is, Joe. This isn't 20 some odd people on a committee. This is one person. There are 7 Republicans on the Appropriations Committee who didn't know what the hell was in the budget on Friday night until it was released. I know it because I asked it again and again and again. And then I got people going, we have to vote for it. No, you don't. No, you don't. In fact, I would argue that many of us were elected to not vote for this sort of thing.
Exactly. I mean, there's an old expression.
You're going to get yelled at if you live stream the session. And I said, if I lose my job for showing people how the sausage is made, so be it. It's reprehensible. I hope you can tell by my, look, God's got all of this in his hands, right? And my treasure's not here, it's somewhere else. But while I'm here, I'm supposed to do the best I can.
Yeah, there's the best I can. My theological friends, my theologian friends will tell you God isn't going to shovel the hole for you, but he'll make sure you know where the shovel is. We need to do what we need to do. Now, this question came in during the live stream, Tom. Our friend Gentleman Jim ask Senator Lucas if the new budget includes restrictions on high-capacity bongs.
Yeah, all day long, right? I mean, so one of the things I like about Virginia versus the federal level, I got in trouble in D.C. when I was up there. We had an Obamacare repeal, and I think it was 4,000 pages. And I'm on like MSNBC, and they're like, have you read the bill? And I said, nobody's read the bill. My office split that bill into about 10 pieces, went around, read it, and sat in the room and said, what's good, what's bad? And so now he's going to vote against or for it, and he didn't even read it. No one read it. No one read it. So in D.C., a big bill is 4,000 pages. In Richmond, a big bill is 10 pages. There were over 200 pages establishing, I mean, seriously, the biggest bill I've ever seen in Virginia, not counting the budget, is probably 50 pages. And that's in a lot of years doing this in the Senate and the House. We got 200 and some odd pages of marijuana and cannabis retail market in the budget this time. So not only did we not debate that, we didn't debate the budget. And then we ran top cover for the Democrats. I guarantee you, if you study the news articles tomorrow, we'll hear all about a bipartisan budget.
Yeah. That'll be the speeches.
They didn't need a single one of our votes. They didn't. It's 64-36. Why are we giving them top cover to steal more money from the working people?
Well, you mentioned this beforehand, before all of a sudden the magical mystery drug deal went down, when
Literally.
you mentioned that the Republican leadership should have come in saying, here's our budget. This is what we would be doing if we were in charge. What have you heard since then? That was last week.
I mean, again, I'm walking a tightrope here, right? I mean, I have no desire to be in leadership, nor do I have any desire to run for higher office. I have a desire to do the job that I've been given the best I can do, and I'm proud of the job I do. I think I did more good Facebook Living this thing than I could have done adding one no vote to that boondoggle in Richmond today. Right?
I hope so.
I genuinely do with every fiber of my being. If 10 people watch this, then more people know what's going on than would have if I'd have taken a round trip flight away from my family on a vacation we've been planning for the better part of
it would
the
have
year.
taken you longer to get through TSA than it took for that vote on the floor.
One way. But it wasn't, again, we didn't vote on the budget. We voted on a conference report.
Right.
And anybody who voted for that who's on the committee and didn't get the budget until Friday night when everybody else got the budget, when we got called back, hey, we're doing this Monday. I mean, I think if the Republican Party had decided to walk out en masse, I think would have been better showing than this. But what I think we should have done is said, here are what our priorities are. Mm-hmm. Here is where we would be doing pay raises for educators, for law enforcement. Here is where we would be investing in transportation, et cetera, not to the tune of subsidizing Washington Metro Transit Authority for $1 billion a year, $111.50 per Virginian per year for Fairfax, Arlington, and Alexandria to look down their noses at us and run power lines across our pristine farmland because they can, right? So it's just, I mean, I'm rarely at a loss for words, but I don't even know what to say.
So I'm going to fill in here then and ask you a pointed question. What happens in a little while in the Senate? Do they do the same dog and pony show? We vote on Senate Bill 30 and the conference committee report, vote to accept, aye. All right, thanks very much. Go get lunch.
And there will be members of the Senate Finance Committee who have R's beside their name, who are so afraid of not being on the Senate Finance Committee that they will also likely provide top cover for this budget. Right?
How lucrative is that? I mean, you talk about this, and I remember there was a documentary called The Swamp that said members of committees in Congress actually had to pay the party for their positions on committees. I remember there was a guy who looked a little familiar. But how lucrative is being on the Appropriations Committee for a member of the House or Senate to be that covetous?
Again, I'm not gonna cast aspersions on the character of my colleagues. I don't think people are monetizing it. What you can do, to be fair, is get a line item in for your district, right? And maybe you represent a district that's got crazy economic needs, and if you will go along to get along on the budget, then they'll throw some more money in for whatever projects are important in wherever you represent in Virginia. That's a true fact. That's absolutely real.
That's a value. That's a value. That doesn't have to be money in somebody's pocket.
You were elected to represent the people in that district.
Right.
With that said, I think that sometimes you take one for the team to show people how this works, because what they've ostensibly done at that point is take money from everyone in Virginia to buy votes for political messaging, right? Did it cost $50 million to get 5, 6, 7 Republican yes votes on the budget? Right, because the counter is I'll pull your members off the committee.
Right.
Pull me off the committee. Pull me off.
Well, and some of the committees, I mean, in the Senate, it's nutty when you see the construct of a body that's 21-19 and the committees are 9 Democrats and 3 or 4 Republicans. I mean, that's nuttier than squirrel poo.
Right. I mean, and again, I can't cast aspersions without casting them both ways. Neither party's cornered the high ground on that. But the point is this. Until you're willing to stand on principle, you'll fall for anything. Right. And the other thing is a lot of rules were broken in doing this way. But who do you think makes the rules in the House? The Speaker. Right. So who do you think enforces the rules in the House?
The Speaker.
So if you make the rules and you enforce the rules, are there any rules?
Is there? Now, hang on. Oh, epiphany. Hold on. They broke rules in the House in the redistricting. Is there? I'm asking the barrister in you, the legislator in you, is there a way to battle this in court saying you broke the rules of the House, therefore this budget can be challenged?
That was one of the angles that we took in the appeal, but the judicial branch, and again, there's checks and balances for a reason. This is it, right? But the judicial branch is loath to engage in the internal machinations of the legislative branch. What they will do, however, is interpret laws passed by the legislative branch. The great irony of the redistricting fight was, and there were a lot of different reasons that they couldn't do what they did, some of which had to do with rules, but the judicial branch didn't want to get into House rule making and House rule enforcement, and I understand it, even if I don't like it. The irony is that 45 days of early voting cooked them.
Right.
Because what ended up getting them was the definition of an election and notice before an election, and then when does an election start? If the election had just been election day, you'd be looking at a 10-1 map. But they insisted on 45 days of early voting. So, this is, what is it, Genesis 50:20, I think, where God says, what do you intended for evil, God intended for good?
Yes.
I mean, these guys, if they're going to do anything, they're going to overplay their hand. I just wish that we wouldn't help them do it. Because, again, I'm going to throw up just a little bit in my mouth when I hear about the bipartisan budget that passed.
Yeah, well,
literally, if you were a member of the House Committee on Appropriations and a Republican, you would have learned about it at the same time as you would have if you were, the dog catcher in Pocatello.
So when does the Senate vote take place? Do you know?
Are they back today? I don't know. I quit keeping track of those guys.
Well, that was the story I saw, was that they were going to vote later this afternoon. I mean, it's
right.
Already, for a member of the General Assembly, it's already martini o'clock, isn't it?
I mean, not this one.
Well, yeah, all right. There you go.
I could, within plus or minus 7 votes, I could have told you what this vote was going to be before the vote was ever cast. And I could do the same thing in the Senate. I mean, how many Republicans are on the Finance Committee? Which Republicans are they? Right? And if they're on the Finance Committee and they vote no, I'm really interested to see if they're on the Finance Committee next year. Yeah. In fact, I'm being told now the Senate's already voted. So there you go. We have a budget.
I was going to say.
Yeah. I guess that's the good news about that is that Governor Spanberger can stop with their second job of being a DJ. I don't know if you've seen that video yet or not.
No, I haven't seen that.
She's at a hip hop concert 97 days after the budget was to have passed, and she's in the microphone shouting and dancing, not terribly well, which is why you'll never see me dance on film. Naughty by nature is hip hop hooray ho. So you can't make this stuff. Yeah,
good to see her let her hair down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, if they just dunked on us and passed the budget when they were supposed to back in March, maybe go to the hip hop concert. But I'm thinking
other priorities, etc.
School teacher in Virginia is not going to get paid because you can't do your job. Maybe you should get to work.
Well, maybe a little deal making, a little recreational. Got shared and she decided to let her hair down. I don't know. But Tom, this has been fun.
She and Lolita were hanging out at the time. Yeah, I'm super grateful to you and folks. I mean, don't get as worked up as I got about this because again, we're so blessed to live in a horribly flawed and greatest nation ever to exist in humanity. Our job is to try to perpetuate that for posterity. I'm not saying this country's flawless. Joe, how many times have you heard me say that the founders said to form a more perfect union?
But here's the thing.
That we weren't perfect.
And
this is not how it's supposed to be done. And we should be ashamed of ourselves. And people who essentially perpetuate this, maybe we should take a long, hard look at who we send back to Richmond.
Well, here's a bigger point that I want to make. And I hear people say this all the time. Oh, America made this, or America did that, or America. The people in the United States of America did this. They were free to do those things. Now, maybe other countries, the government says you will do this and you will make a rocket and go to space. In America, in the United States, we are free to do the things that create computers and cell phones and things like that. And, it's become less so in Virginia. And you know who's loving this budget? Tennessee and North Carolina and places that are going to. Georgia, we just watched the firearms manufacturer leave Fredericksburg to go to Georgia. So that's who's...
I ever heard of them? I mean, Boeing took their corporate headquarters out of Virginia. It's the first thing that happened after Governor Spanberger won the election.
Right.
And I mean, again, we had an incredible competitive advantage by virtue of being the farthest northernmost right-to-work state on the eastern seaboard that they tried to fritter away this year. Governor Spanberger was ready to sign the bill to destroy right to work in Virginia and allow for public sector unions. That means your teachers could strike, your firefighters, your police officers, which would make us less safe and less educated, arguably, although I don't know, maybe less time in public schools, who knows. In any event, that died only because she wasn't willing to let it happen while she was still in office. She just wanted to kick the can down the road until the year after she left office to implement the law. So I think even she arguably knows that that's bad policy. But I mean, we do this. We set the dumpster on fire, turn and walk away, knowing that the next guy to take out the trash is going to have to deal with it. And I just want to shine a light on it, right? I mean, there's no reason that discretionary expenditures should be growing at 10% over the biennium when we haven't got 10% extra money in our wallets over the biennium.
Yeah, GDP has not gone up that much.
And they can't find the money, and I think that Joe McNamara made this point so well. We got billions upon billions of extra money to spend on top of the $2.7 billion Youngkin surplus, but we can't find $300 million to get rid of the grocery tax, which is about the most regressive tax in the world, which absolutely, positively, disproportionately, as a percentage of income earned, punishes working people. Explain that to me.
Right.
We had the money left over to implement car tax relief and start making localities whole. Nah. They don't care about putting money in your pocket because they know more than you know. And that is so crazy, selfish. It's hubris. Like, you will become happier as soon as you acknowledge that the person most responsible for your well-being and happiness is you, right? But they're going to make everything good, and it's never worked before, and it won't work here. And I'm delighted to live in a place where I'm as free to fail as I am to succeed, because that creates a circumstance where I can improve me and make myself happier and my family better. But this is, it's insanity. It really is. And like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of the circus. I just wish that we had a different set of ringmasters.
Well, maybe that'll come. And some of the, what do you say? In order to get hearts and minds, you've got to get eyes and ears. So
eyes and ears to win hearts and minds.
Sorry, this hasn't been so easy on the eyes, but he put a shirt on for this, so
yeah, I got tan. It does accentuate the white in the beard. Joe, I'm super grateful to you. You guys who are watching home, again, like, stay engaged, get involved, tell your friends to vote. But I mean, don't get too upset about it, right? You are the locus, the central core figure in your own happiness, your own ability to provide for your family and your loved ones. Yes, we have responsibility, but government isn't going to control whether or not you're happy, whether or not you're focused on things that are important. So, and I try to keep that, I'm probably talking to myself here. I try to keep that in balance in my own life, that this sucks, that was done poorly, that we should shine a light on it and do it differently in the future. But I'm going to go have a great day because, I have the freedom to do that, and I love this country. 250, happy birthday.
God bless you, sir, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. God bless you. Have a great day, Joe.
Thank you all for watching here on Tom's Facebook page and my YouTube channel. Until tomorrow morning, so long, and thanks for all the fish.